The Unity was on its first cultural exchange mission. The ship carried a mixed crew, different personalities, different skills, and different ways of thinking. They had trained for months, but no one really knew what to expect. A sense of excitement and mild nervousness filled the air as they approached their destination, a world called Echoris. Echoris looked warm and familiar at first glance. Forests, rivers, houses, almost like a distant version of Earth. The people too looked human-like, except for one striking difference. Faint glowing lines ran under their skin, and these lines brightened a second before they spoke. For the Unity crew, it felt like watching subtitles appear before the sentence was even spoken. The Echorians welcomed the visitors with this smooth and precise glow speech sequence. Every line of light appeared first, and then the spoken words followed, perfectly timed, perfectly measured. The humans found it impressive and a little intimidating. There were no interruptions, no overlapping talk, no confusion. Soon, the Unity crew learned why. On Echoris, the glow wasn't just decoration, it was the foundation of their communication. Before any Echorian spoke, their glow always showed the exact sentence they intended to say. It was a natural system that ensured honesty, clarity, and complete transparency. There was no room for misunderstanding. A mismatch between the glow and the speech was simply impossible. Speaking without a glow was considered deeply disrespectful. For thousands of years, this system had prevented conflict and kept their society stable. The humans listened carefully, nodding along. But even as they did, they sensed a fundamental gap. Humans don't have glowing signals. Humans speak with pauses, with tone, with half-finished ideas. We soften the truth to keep the peace. We leave meaning open for interpretation. On Echoris, these habits had no place. The first misunderstanding happened almost immediately. When the Unity's captain greeted the Echorians in a normal human manner, her sentence came without any glow. The residents of Echoris froze. For them, a spoken sentence without visible intention suggested uncertainty or worse, danger. The captain was confused. She had simply spoken politely, exactly as she would greet anyone on Earth. But here, her greeting carried no structural meaning and no visible intent. The cultural gap widened instantly. Things became more complicated during the formal meeting in the council hall. One of the crew members, trying to maintain a pleasant atmosphere, gave a polite and reassuring statement. On Earth, this kind of gentle lie is socially acceptable, a small adjustment of truth to reduce tension. But on Echoris, the sentence came without any intention signal and without clarity. The aliens saw no structure behind it, no defined meaning, no proof that the words reflected anything real. To them, this wasn't kindness. It was instability, uncertainty. A sentence without a clear intent was as dangerous as a lie. Even the captain's attempt to fix the situation failed. She made a respectful statement, meant to show goodwill. But again, the sentence lacked the direct clarity the Echorians were trained to expect. The meaning was too broad, too open-ended, too dependent on interpretation. On Echoris, truth was something exact, something unambiguous, something that could not be misread. The humans were unintentionally violating a deep cultural expectation. As confusion built on both sides, the atmosphere turned uneasy. The council activated a soft alert tone, a formal warning that communication was becoming unsafe. The Unity crew realized that if they didn't solve this quickly, the mission could collapse before it had even begun. At this moment, Zara, the ship's medic, stepped forward with a special device. This was no ordinary translator. It didn't simulate glow signals or read thoughts. Instead, it was a high-tech communication analyzer designed for diplomacy. It could record a conversation and replay it in layers tone, expressions and thinking pauses showing how humans reveal their intention through multiple subtle channels. For the first time, the aliens would be able to see the hidden structure behind human communication. Zara activated the device. A recording of the Unity crew appeared in holographic form. The first layer showed the emotional tone of each sentence, softness, nervousness, certainty, hesitation. The second layer highlighted the facial expressions humans used unconsciously: small smiles, thinking frowns, raised eyebrows. The third layer displayed pauses, marked clearly on a timeline. These were the moments humans used to think, to soften a message, or to frame their intent gently. The Echoris watched with intense focus. They began to see something they had never understood before. Humans communicate intent through many small signals working together, not through a single precise glow. What had looked chaotic earlier now had an internal system. A system different from Echoris logic, but still meaningful in its own way. With this newfound understanding, Zara explained something important. Humans sometimes speak in a softened way, not to deceive, but to protect feelings. A pleasant lie in human culture often hides kindness, not danger. It's an attempt to avoid emotional harm. This idea surprised the Echoris. On their world, truth was clarity. Emotional buffering had never been part of their communication style. For the first time, they saw that the humans weren't unstable. They were compassionate. The council then explained their own history. Long ago, their society had suffered because truths were delivered in unclear forms. Misinterpretation had caused major conflicts. To survive, they had embraced clarity as a cultural core. Their glow system wasn't just biology, it was a philosophy. The conversation shifted from tension to understanding. The humans learned that truth doesn't become complete just because it's spoken. It becomes complete when it's spoken clearly enough to avoid misunderstanding. The Echoris learned that softness in communication can also be an act of care. A new compromise emerged. The Echoris would continue using their glow system. But during joint meetings, they would activate a small wrist light signal for the humans. This signal would guide them on the correct moment to speak, ensuring order without forcing them to adopt the glow rule. The Unity crew appreciated the gesture. Both sides had accepted the other's way of communication without trying to erase or replace it. As the Unity prepared to leave, the Echoris guide wished them safe travels. The glow came first, then the words. The humans smiled. They finally understood the meaning behind the light. The crew left the planet with a new lesson. Different cultures express honesty in different ways. Some use clarity. Some use emotion. Some use light. Some use expression. But all of them seek understanding. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next episode. See you next time.